Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: as Israel pummels Gaza, families of those held hostage by militants agonize over loved ones' safety. Estonia ready to lose funding if Ukraine joins EU, Prime Minister says. Japan to chair G7 finance ministers meeting at IMF conference on October 12. Myanmar shadow government accuses military of war crimes over refugee camp attack. Russian lawmakers asked to study revoking nuclear test ban treaty. As Israel pummels Gaza, families of those held hostage by militants agonize over loved ones' safety. The Toronto Star. Israeli families are grappling with uncertainty and fear as their loved ones remain missing after Hamas kidnapped them during the recent conflict with Israel. Hamas has warned it will kill one of the 130 hostages every time Israel's military bombs civilian targets in Gaza. Families are desperate for information on the whereabouts and condition of their loved ones, but locating hostages in Gaza may prove difficult for Israeli intelligence agencies. Hamas has also said it seeks the release of all Palestinian prisoners in exchange for the Israeli captives. Estonia ready to lose funding if Ukraine joins EU, Prime Minister says. Financial Times. Estonia's Prime Minister, Kaja Kallas, has said the country is ready to become a net contributor to the EU budget if Ukraine joins the bloc. Estonia is prepared to lose access to cohesion funds, which help poorer members develop their economies, in the long run. The EU is considering adding up to 9 new members, including Ukraine, in the coming years, and member states are beginning to explore the potential impact on the bloc's budget-sharing rules. Japan to chair G7 finance ministers meeting at IMF conference on October 12. Reuters. Japan will chair a meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors from the Group of Seven, G7, advanced nations on October 12 to discuss the war in Ukraine and the world economy, Finance Minister Shinichi Suzuki said on Tuesday. The G7 meeting will be part of a broader Group of 20 gathering, Suzuki told reporters, that will be held on the sidelines of the annual International Monetary Fund conference in the Moroccan city of Marrakesh. Myanmar shadow government accuses military of war crimes over refugee camp attack. Reuters. Myanmar's Shadow National Unity Government, NUG, has accused the ruling military of carrying out an attack on a refugee camp that resulted in the deaths of at least 28 people. The NUG called the attack a war crime and crime against humanity and called on the international community to take action. The attack occurred close to the border with China, which the NUG said demonstrated the junta's lack of respect for its neighbor. The ruling military has not yet commented on the allegations. Russian lawmakers asked to study revoking nuclear test ban treaty. Japan Times. Russian lawmakers have been given until October 18 to study how best to revoke Moscow's ratification of a landmark treaty banning nuclear tests, after Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke about the move. This step is seen by some as a reminder from Moscow that it still possesses the world's largest nuclear arsenal. Russia claims neo-Nazis were at wake for Ukrainian soldier in village where missile killed 52. The Toronto Star. Russia's UN ambassador, Vasily Nebenzia, has claimed that neo-Nazis and military-age men were at the wake for a Ukrainian soldier in a village cafe where a missile last week killed 52 people. The claim came as a UN Security Council meeting was called by Ukraine to discuss the missile strike on Hroza, which is in the northeastern Kharkiv region of Ukraine. During the meeting, it was suggested that Russia was responsible for starting the war and committing crimes. Russia has denied involvement, stating that the Russian military does not target civilians or civilian facilities. Live Israel-Palestine latest news, deputy Israeli commander killed in clashes. Telegraph. An Israeli deputy commander was killed in clashes on the Lebanon border. The deputy commander was identified as Alam Abdullah, but no further details were given about the circumstances of his death. The clashes occurred after Palestinian militants from the Islamic Jihad group infiltrated Israel from Lebanon, prompting Israeli shelling into southern Lebanon. In response, Lebanon's Hezbollah militant group said 5 of its members were killed and retaliated with rocket and mortar fire at 2 Israeli army bases. The Israeli military also struck 2 tunnels used by Hamas militants to enter Israeli territory. The death toll from the Hamas attack has risen to 900 Israelis, with over 2,600 people injured and dozens taken captive. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is expected to visit Moscow, and U.S. President Joe Biden is set to make a speech regarding the situation in Israel. North Korea says military satellite key to countering U.S. space militarization. Reuters. North Korea's spy satellite program is a necessary measure to counter U.S. space militarization and secure world supremacy, according to state media KCNA. A researcher from the National Aerospace Technology Administration accused the U.S. of seeking military hegemony in Asia through the expansion of its Space Force. The article singled out a recent trip by the U.S. Space Force commander to Tokyo and the deployment of a Space Force component in South Korea. North Korea has failed twice to place a spy satellite in orbit, but has vowed to try again as early as October. Many killed in artillery strike in northern Myanmar, media, local sources. Reuters. An artillery strike at a camp for internally displaced people in Myanmar's Kachin state has reportedly killed many people, including women, children, and the elderly. The incident took place close to a military camp run by the Kachin Independence Army, KIA, which is in conflict with Myanmar's ruling military. The reports and images of the aftermath were shared on social media by a minister in Myanmar's anti-junta shadow National Unity Government. A local activist stated that 29 people were confirmed dead and 59 injured. The KIA could not be reached for confirmation, and Myanmar's junta spokesperson was not immediately reachable. Liza, the capital of KIA, is located near the Chinese border and is home to many civilians living in displacement camps. Indian shares set to open higher tracking rebound in global stocks. Reuters. Indian shares are expected to open higher today following a rebound in global stocks, while the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas is still causing a rise in oil prices. The GIFT Nifty was trading up 0.07% at 19,614.50, indicating that the Nifty 50 will open higher from Monday's close. Wall Street equities closed higher on Monday, led by energy stocks due to rising crude prices. The conflict between Israel and Hamas has impacted risk sentiment and led to increased buying of safe haven assets such as gold and the US dollar. Brent crude futures were trading around $88 per barrel on Tuesday. Foreign institutional investors extended their selling streak for the 14th consecutive session on Monday, while domestic institutional investors bought shares worth 26.61 billion Indian rupees, $119.89 million. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six from the 6 Degree World, bringing you the latest news from around the globe. Today we have stories ranging from the ongoing conflict between Israel and Gaza, to political developments in Estonia and Russia, and even a lively discussion on space militarization. But before we delve into the details, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Six, your trusty observer of the 6 Degree World, where everything is connected by just 6 degrees of separation. Now, let's get down to business. In Israel, families are living in fear as their loved ones remain missing after being kidnapped by Hamas during the recent conflict with Gaza. Hamas has issued a chilling warning that they will kill one of the 130 hostages for every civilian target bombed by Israel. The families are desperately seeking information about their loved ones, but the task of locating hostages in Gaza is proving to be a challenge for Israeli intelligence agencies. This situation highlights the tragic consequences of the ongoing conflict and the anguish faced by innocent families caught in the crossfire. Moving on to Estonia, the Prime Minister, Kaja Kallas, has made a bold statement that the country is ready to become a net contributor to the EU budget if Ukraine joins the bloc. This means that Estonia is willing to give up access to cohesion funds, which are used to help develop the economies of poorer EU members. This decision reflects Estonia's commitment to supporting Ukraine's integration into the EU, even if it means sacrificing its own financial benefits. It's a commendable stance that shows solidarity among EU member states. In Japan, the G7 finance ministers will be gathering to discuss the war in Ukraine and the world economy. This meeting, chaired by Japan, will take place during the IMF conference in Morocco. It is crucial for the G7 nations to address the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and its impact on the global economy. These discussions will shape the international response to the crisis and could potentially have far-reaching consequences for the region. Meanwhile, in Myanmar, the shadow National Unity Government has accused the ruling military of committing war crimes in an attack on a refugee camp. The NUG has called for international action against the military, highlighting the need for accountability and justice. This incident once again sheds light on the dire situation in Myanmar and the urgent need for a resolution to the political crisis. In Russia, lawmakers have been asked to study the revocation of a nuclear test ban treaty. This move comes as a reminder of Russia's nuclear capabilities and its position as the possessor of the world's largest nuclear arsenal. While this decision raises concerns about the potential consequences, it also emphasizes the need for continued international efforts to prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons. Lastly, North Korea has claimed that its spy satellite program is a necessary measure to counter U.S. space militarization. The country's state media has accused the US of seeking military hegemony in Asia and has vowed to continue its efforts to place a spy satellite in orbit. This development further adds to the tensions in the region and highlights the growing competition for dominance in space. So, there you have it, folks, a whirlwind tour of the latest news from around the world. From the ongoing conflict in Gaza to political developments in Estonia and Russia, and even a glimpse into the world of space militarization. It's a diverse mix of stories that highlight the complexities of our interconnected world. Now, it's time for you, my dear viewers, to join the discussion. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any questions? Let's hear your ideas and insights. Remember, in the 6-degree world, every perspective matters, and together, we can make sense of this ever-changing world. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.